The following is a RackRadioShow.com exclusive.
So joining us right now is one of the legendary voices of professional wrestling. Please welcome WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Wonderfully well. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're very appreciative of you joining us today. And I know you're here to talk to us about your wonderful one-man show, and we'll get to that. But there's something that I really want to talk to you about because it's kind of on everybody's mind. And, well, that's the college playoffs. You know, they just resolved. Ohio State, beat Oregon. And I'm just curious, do you think that the system worked?
Yeah, I think it works. I think that it, the teams that were omitted from the Final Four, I think it speaks very clearly that 8 teams would be better than 4. And I think eventually the 8-team playoff system will be initiated. But in any event, the fact that the championship of college football is decided by the teams on the field as opposed to balloting, voting, polling, whatever, is, I think, a real good thing. So I enjoy the tournament format. It's a great episodic programming, a tournament is. So that's why NCAA basketball in March is the big deal. It's March Madness. The NFL playoffs, same thing. So I like the system, and I would like to see more teams get the opportunity to participate. And if the television ratings are any indication, the fans certainly would invest their time in watching the tournament an extra week.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I was a little bummed personally that they only did 4 instead of 8. I thought they were going to do kind of the semifinals and then the final round and then the championship game. So it would be, I agree with you that it would be nice to have 8 teams or maybe more.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all going to come down to money and the networks ponying up the cash. The viewers, I think, will certainly would enjoy the process even more. But again, I reflect back to NCAA basketball, get average ratings during the year, but once they get into March Madness, it's a whole different ball game. So it's just that sense of urgency and the fact that you win, you advance, you lose, you go home. It's a simple format to follow, and what I don't think it happens next year, but I think somewhere in the near future we'll get 4 more teams, and then we may be having this discussion. Well, maybe we should do 16 or whatever. But in any event, I think 8 teams would be perfect.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. And kind of to transition away from that and talk to something else that's really exciting, you also got to call your first New Japan pay-per-view this year, actually very recently. What was that like for you?
It was fun. It was fun. Once you get past the travel and you can navigate around the language barriers in Japan, then it's everything else is really positive. The event was in the Tokyo Dome, 40,000 plus fans on hand, I think, was the attendance. It was the first time that anyone had aired a New Japan pay-per-view in North America. And it did really well. I haven't heard the numbers, but it's been critically acclaimed as one of the better pay-per-view wrestling shows in years, and so that's neat to be able to be a part of that. For me, after 40 years in this business, and then being out of the play-by-play table for a while, you have those doubts. How much gas is left in the tank, and how are you going to endure this 4-hour pay-per-view, or the last hour is your most important facet of the matches? So those are the main events. So I had a great time. The food was unique, not quite what I'm used to here in Oklahoma, but it was a good, fun experience, and I hope that we get to do some more. I know those talks are ongoing. I signed a contract to do one, but I would certainly be interested in doing more. It was right place, right time, win-win, all those cliches. But I had a great time, and it was good to know that I hadn't forgotten how to do my old job. So there's kind of nostalgic in that regard.
I don't think you could ever forget. You're too good.
Thank you.
So, you mentioned that there might be more shows. Do you think that Wrestle Kingdom could New Japan, I should say, could do well here in the U.S.?
I think they could if they started airing, or they started on Friday nights airing the show, their TV show, an hour TV show with English commentary on Access TV, formerly HDNet, Mark Cuban's outfit. So they air on Friday nights. Depending on what kind of audience they pick up, they'll be able to measure the popularity. And then once all the pay-per-view numbers come in on that show, that'll be another gauge that they can utilize. As long as you have English speaking commentators who can explain who all these men and women are, then I think it'll do real well because their product is really sound. Their in-ring psychology is very old school oriented, but it's surrounded with all these modern accoutrements. So I think it's got a real good chance of being a paper. I don't know how well it's going to do on weekly TV. I don't know how well Access TV does in general. But if it did well on pay-per-view, that gives you an indication that there are people willing to invest in it. And if that's the case, you could. It's like any other entity, it's all, like as we said about the football playoffs, it's all about the cash.
Right.
So if it does well, I would think you would see more. So I had a great time with it. I love the product. It's very hard-hitting. They demand physicality from their talents, and it's a little unique. It's a different presentation you see in North America. I'm not telling you it's immensely better. I'm just telling you that it's different because everybody has their brand that they like.
Right.
It's like buying barbecue sauce. You can buy JR's barbecue sauce, or you can buy, Sweet Baby Ray's or somebody's, or your local flavor. But the bottom line is that there's enough audience to go around. So I think they would do well here if they can just get a foothold.
Hey, I'm still waiting for that JR's barbecue sauce in my store. Just saying.
Yeah. I like that.
Now, we've heard a lot of really great reviews for your live shows, especially the ones from last WrestleMania weekend. And I'm curious to know, kind of, for those who haven't seen you live yet, what can we kind of expect?
Well, I got into the wrestling business, the pro wrestling business, when I was 22, and very accidentally, and thought it would be a good summer job that I could, make some money, and go back to college and finish my last semester of college and graduate. And then 40 years later, I'm still waiting on that to re-enroll. I just never, I like what I was doing. And, I read somewhere one time, if you're lucky enough to find a job that doesn't feel like work, grab it and embrace it. And I found that situation in that very unique genre. And then from 74 till now, there's been immense changes, going from relying on syndicated TV and then getting on national cable, then getting on satellite television, then getting involved in pay-per-view, and then corporate ownership like Turner Broadcasting and WWE, both corporately owned. Both companies are publicly traded. Or were publicly traded. There's no more WCW. But my point is that I've seen the evolution of the business change drastically on several fronts. I work with some very compelling, gregarious, amazing entertainers in those 40 years on a lot of trips and a lot of events and a lot of countries and a lot of cities. So the stories are really unique. So I try to, in my show, take about the first 10, 15, 20 minutes and kind of create a GPS of where we're going and hit some highlights and tell some stories that hopefully are either poignant or humorous or motivational, entertaining bottom line. And then I turn it over to the audience, and the audience then are able to ask any questions they choose. And wrestling fans are always they're always looking for a forum to express themselves. That's why there's so many wrestling websites and there's so many people on Twitter that follow wrestling people. They enjoy the communication, the interaction. And I feel like, owe the fans a great deal for supporting me for 40 years. So this is a small down payment on what I owe the people back. And I love to engage the Q&As. They're funny. They're poignant sometimes. They're inquisitive. You scratch your head, or, why'd you ask that question? But I tell them up front, if you're nice enough to come to my shows and we have fun, I'm not going to restrict the subject matter of the questions. So I'll answer every question to the best of my ability and as honestly as I know. And that really makes every show different. It makes every show have its own vibe, its own energy. And that's kind of what we're expecting on that Royal Rumble weekend. I've never been to Sayreville, New Jersey at the Starland Ballroom. I've been to Philadelphia many times. Our show in Philly will be on Sunday, Royal Rumble Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I enjoy meeting the fans. The VIP meet and greets start 2 hours before showtime, and we meet the fans one-on-one, and we take pictures and chat with them. And I enjoy visiting. I enjoy hearing what's on their mind. And I'm a fan, so we talk the same language. So the whole Philadelphia is really important to me. It's really important in my career when I really needed it. And so I'm excited about the Royal Rumble weekend. We'll do a Friday night show in Sayreville and a Sunday afternoon show in Philadelphia. So I'm excited about the whole process. It should be fun. I figure I'm probably going to gain some weight because I can't pass a Philly cheesesteak place without at least checking it out and smelling, And you smell a good cheesesteak, you almost got to have one.
That's my philosophy in life.
Yeah. I think the thing about it is that people will hear all these dates and places. If they remember one thing, www.axs.com will have all the information on my shows. Tickets start at $20. There's a few meet and greet tickets left, so it's going to be fun to be there on that weekend. I know there's a lot of fans coming to Philadelphia for various reasons. Obviously, first and foremost, the Royal Rumble event on Sunday, and hopefully they can kind of use our show as maybe a little bit of a tailgate type of function prior to going to the big game at the Wells Fargo Arena.
That would be fun. That would definitely be fun.
Yeah, I think so. And I'll try to make it fun. I'll try to not. I've been really. I didn't know if I was going to like doing these shows because I don't know if I would stand up or I don't have an act. I'm not a trained comedian. I've always been a straight man actually. So, but I did 4 of those shows in a couple of years ago in Wales. I did one in Wales, in Cardiff. I did one in London. I did one in Manchester, and I did one in Glasgow, Scotland. And they all 3 sold out, and everybody seemed to really like them. So we got great reviews, and I didn't know what I was really doing. I just thought, well, we'll just try this. Let's see how this works. So I shortened up the monologue, and then I gave more time to the audience to ask the questions. And there's where I found my formula. The audience interaction is the heartbeat of the show, and it's why it keeps it fresh and it changes. You can see it in Sayersville, for example, it'll be a different show in Philadelphia, without a doubt.
Definitely. And I'm sure that one of the people that you probably have some really, really cool, well, I don't know cool because I don't want to make an assumption, but really, really good stories about would have to be The Undertaker because you've probably known him for a long while, I would imagine.
Yeah, I have, excuse me, and he's a guy I have great respect for. When I was in charge of hiring the talent for WWE, and I was in charge of the talent department as the executive vice president in the company, he was a very strong, positive influence in the locker room. He's like the captain of the team, for the lack of a better term. So if there were issues that I needed support on or advice on or have a go-to guy that would always give you honesty and hit you right in the gut with the truth, it was the Undertaker. So I got plenty of Undertaker stories, and actually he was wrestling under a mask in Dallas when I saw him, and we brought him to WCW, and then he stayed at WCW, and one of the officials there, his contract was coming up, and I said we should renew his contract. And this guy says, well, you obviously don't know anything about talent because he'll never draw any money. He'll never be a big star. And I said, okay. So I go to Undertaker and I say, look, you ain't got to broadcast this, but you need to try to get that WWE offer nailed down because they're not going to give you a raise here, and you need to know the honest truth. And without telling WWE that you're not going to resign, you have the information you need. So he visited with Vince McMahon, and McMahon saw what I saw. Here's a 6'9" guy that's very athletic, and it's up to the promotion to find the right creative for all the talent. It's up to a coach to put the guys in the right position to win the games,
right.
Have them in the right game plan. So I have I do have a lot of stories on Taker, and he's a wonderful guy, and he's obviously coming to the end of an amazing career. I don't know how many more he's got in him. I don't have any idea if he'll be at WrestleMania this year or not. My sense of it is that he will. That's only my intuition, because I think the day the Undertaker retires would be the cause of a huge promotion, well-planned, well-thought-out celebration of his years of contributions. And I haven't heard any chatter on that matter. I just can't see him. Okay, he got Brock Lesnar last year. His streak at WrestleMania is over, so he's just fading away. I just can't see him fading away without some sort of classy send-off. And maybe that's at WrestleMania this year. I don't know. But it'll be a sad day when he's no longer, back in the ring. But it happens for everybody. I mean, there's a DNA expiration date on everybody's body somewhere in wrestling that tells you when it's enough is enough. And maybe he's hearing those whispers now from himself. I don't know. But he's a class act. He's a first ballot Hall of Fame guy, and he'll always be a part of the company, no matter what role he may assume after his wrestling days have concluded.
I would agree with all that, and that was awesome that you shared that with us. So I'm curious to know, what would you consider his lasting legacy to be, either with WWE or in the wrestling business in general?
Well,
because
I think,
he's given so much. Sorry.
Well, he has, and he's worked through all kinds of injuries and pain. Guys his size, you have to be very careful in a perfect world of travel, because you're looking at a 6'9" guy sitting in a commercial airline seat. Even if it's in first class, it's still sometimes inadequate for leg room and so forth. And to travel as much as he's traveled, just like anybody, a normal-sized guy, if there is such a thing as a normal-sized pro wrestler. So that was something I think sometimes people just forget about. But I think the thing that he'll be known best for, probably going to be two things: his overall tenure from start to finish, and how long he's kept his game at a high level. No matter where he was, if he could be in, some small town, or it could be at WrestleMania. And then, of course, the winning streak at WrestleMania will never be approached by anybody, in my view. And so I think those two things, his overall tenure and keeping his game at a high level all through the decades he participated in, and, of course, that WrestleMania, the streak, as they call it, kind of had a pulse of its own. So, I'll remember him for being a leader in our locker room and being a great support system for me, and more important, him being a great friend. So, but depending on who you are, he's going to be remembered for a lot of things. But for the general fan, tenure with quality and the WrestleMania streak.
You just disregard the fact that he's a Texas fan?
Pardon me?
You just disregard the fact that he's a Texas fan? Because I know you're a big Sooners fan.
Yeah. We disagree on that one Saturday of a year. The second Saturday in October is not for the wicked heart, as we say here, in the battle for the Red River. So, yeah, he's a Texas Longhorn fan, and I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. So we have a difference of opinion that one day a year. But the thing that we can both agree on, it's a great rivalry and we both enjoy it. The loss of sting with the wins you get out of that pairing is certainly worth the anguish that we all suffer when our team loses the big game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Though Oklahoma seems to win more, just pointing that out.
Yeah, they've done well, and so we'll see. We lost this year to this past season to Texas. They have a new coach and new energy, and they're doing a great job rebuilding their brand. So it's never easy. Those rivalry games are just never easy. You never know. It's like the Eagles playing the Redskins. One thing could be down and go into a game and win. You never know on those real rivalry games. Everything in the NFC East is kind of a rivalry, it seems to me, and people don't like each other. And the Eagle fans don't like anybody, but the Eagle fans, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. They're loyal.
Yeah, we don't.
They're
like
very
anyone
vocal.
Else.
They're very vocal.
Yeah, we don't like anyone else. It's especially Dallas. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm not too happy with Texas. They stole Louisville's coach and Charlie Strong, so I'm not very happy with Texas right now.
Yeah, they got a great coach. Charlie's going to do a good job there. He's already having a gangbuster recruiting year. So they're the big dog in Texas. Texas A&M separated from that whole chaos by going to the SEC, and that gives Texas A&M a leg up because the state of Texas is loaded with great potential college football players in their high school program. So they can say that we're the only Texas team in the SEC. And to some kids, because the SEC is getting all the publicity and all the love from the media, that that's all they need to hear. So it's not Texas going to Longhorns, picking who they want, and then everybody else can fight over the rest. It's not quite that way anymore. But Charlie Strong is a very good recruiter, and there's no doubt in my mind that Texas will be right back on the hunt much sooner than later.
Absolutely. And Jim, I just have one more question because I know you've got places to be, and just have to ask this just for my own personal sake. There's been a lot of comparisons recently between the characters of The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, and kind of where do you stand on this? And kind of what are your thoughts on Bray Wyatt as he has come along?
I like Bray Wyatt. I like his grandpa, Blackjack Mulligan, too, and I like his dad, Mike Rotunda. I think Bray Wyatt's a very unique character, and I'm not sure WWE knows exactly what they have on their hands, because the character is still evolving. And that was much like The Undertaker in the early going. They weren't sure where this was going to evolve to, but it seemed to feel right. So that's kind of where I would sum up this situation. There's somewhat of a macabre aura around The Undertaker, obviously. And this kid comes in, Bray Wyatt, and he assumes his character, makes it his own, in essence. He becomes this TV persona. And he's really good at what he does. So I think he has great potential to have a really good, successful career. But I really believe that we're not going to know exactly what color to paint that character, what brush to use until it evolves a little bit more. But the good news is that however it evolves, it's going to be a successful evolution. He's a very talented kid. He's unique. He's different. People notice him. He does unique things. All those things are prerequisites to become a pro wrestling star. Is you got to get noticed and remembered for the right reasons by your consumer base, which is the fan base. And Bray Wyatt has those traits. So I'm excited to see how he advances in the future. But he's certainly a keeper, and if he has half the success the Undertaker did, then WWE should feel very, very fortunate.
I would agree with that. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to talk with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Everyone catch Jim Ross live January 25th in Philadelphia for Ringside, an afternoon with Jim Ross. And for tickets, visit axs.com.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. So thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you guys very much. Have a great day, and hope to see you at one of the shows sometime. And I really appreciate you having me on, and look forward to entertaining the fans in the Philadelphia and Sayreville area. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Big Royal Rumble weekend. We'll have a blast, I promise.
All right.